We have integrated here a button, so let's press it. Ta-da!
Whoa!
Whoa.
Look at that!
The Audi e-tron is Audi's first fully electric crossover. Audi brought me to the top of Pikes Peak to go for a ride in a pre-production prototype of their new electric vehicle.
Good morning, guys. Mike here with the Fastlane car. From the top of Pikes Peak, I'm back on the mountain for like the third time in a few weeks, but I'm here because Audi has invited me to ride along in that, which is the Audi e-tron prototype. Now, I should be very clear, it's a prototype. It's not the fully released vehicle yet. They're gonna announce that later in September. But for the meantime, they've invited us here because they want to show off how well the Audi does with regenerative braking. So they brought us to the top of Pikes Peak, and we're gonna have an engineer drive us down to the bottom, and we're gonna see how much charge we get.
First of all, we have prepared a dedicated app, and with this app you can closely follow all the technical data which we have prepared for you, communicating from the car to the app. So you can see the car and the electrical engine in the back and in the front. Also the battery, and there are a lot of technical details. So all the screen will be in motion. So all the arrows here, they will move and they will indicate how we will drive the car.
The paddles on the Audi e-tron steering wheel are used to control the strength of the regenerative brakes, determining how much charge goes back into the battery when the vehicle is coasting.
So it's done by those pedals over here. And fourth one is the brake recuperation. Then the frame here will be colored in green. That indicates that I'm, as a driver, I'm standing on the brake pedal. And last but not least, the red one, I will also show you later on. That color indicates that I'm standing on the brake pedal, and we will exceed 0.3 G deceleration. And that means we will activate the friction brake, the real brakes, plus the electrical motor. So we'll have a combination of both. On one hand side, we will decelerate with the electric engine, and on the other hand side, we'll also break down the car with the real brakes. Alright, but to spoiler here, you won't see the red color that much.
At the beginning of our challenge, the e-tron had 62% battery and 151 kilometers of range. Time to see how much charge we could build up.
We have integrated here a button, so let's press it. Ta-da!
Whoa! Look at that!
So
cool.
there we can see the so on the driver's side here, there's now one of this charging plugs. We have another one on the other side of the car, so we have two in each car. And that one here is ready for the so-called DC charging, so really a high power of charging or free charging the car. It's up to, in this one, up to 150 kilowatts. That means you can recharge your car up to 80% of the battery level in less than 30 minutes. We are the first manufacturer worldwide that are using this so-called Electro hydraulic brake by-wire system in an all-new car with electric engine. If we use the brake pedal, for instance, then most of the people think that all the energy the kinetic energy of the car is then converted into heat of the friction brakes. Not in this car. In this car we use up to 0.3 G deceleration, the electric engine only.
So essentially, the physical brakes, the disc brakes, don't kick in until after 0.3 Gs of deceleration force.
That's right, yeah. And statistically speaking, we've measured, we've analyzed a lot of data. So we can say that up to 90% of all braking maneuvers will be handled by the electrical engine itself, and only in 10% of all the deceleration maneuvers the friction brake kicks in. So guys, now we are proceeding to this so-called mandatory brake check, and it's not done by Audi AG, it's done by this Pikes Peak here for years.
There's a man right there.
And there's a guy over there standing, and he has a so-called infrared temperature measurement in his hand. And now we will measure the temperature of our discs.
45.8.
So we have 45 degrees Fahrenheit on our discs.
Correct.
What's the hottest temperature you've measured?
800 to 900 degrees.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
So 45 is good.
Oh, that's great.
We pass?
Yeah. Oh, very much so.
Okay, good. Good.
300s are cut off.
Normally, it would be pretty much the worst idea in the world to touch your brakes after coming down the first half of Pikes Peak. But as we just measured, these brake discs are only 45 degrees, so they should actually be pretty cold when I put my hands on them. So I'm going to do that, which I'm still kind of concerned about, but yeah, the brakes are very cold, so you know that the Audi e-tron's regenerative braking system is working well.
As we told you, we are just using them in 10% of all braking maneuvers. So what we invented is so-called, I don't know if it's a proper translation in English, so-called brake wiper algorithm. And this algorithm, it cleans by applying the pads quickly, and then after some rounds, they're looking nice again.
So we're halfway down. We're at Glen Cove right now. And so far we've gone, maybe 7 miles. We've gained about 30 kilometers in range. So let's keep going. Our battery charge level is up 2% from the top of the mountain thus far. So yeah, let's be on our way and see how much more battery we can get on the way down.
So we've installed in our all-new Audi e-tron a very powerful battery pack. It's up to 95 kilowatt hour of capacity in the car, and this battery powers up the rear electric motor on the rear axle and the front motor at the front axle. Both motors, they have plenty of power, so around about 300 kilowatts. And this gives the driver and the customer really a smile in his face when he puts the pedal to the metal.
Okay, ready?
Let's go.
Woo! Woo! Yeah, it's quick. That was 60. Wow, okay, well, I didn't have the solo deal with us to time how quick that was, but Audi says that'll happen in what, about 6 seconds?
6.1 seconds.
6.1.
We don't have a mechanical linkage between the front and the rear axle anymore, but we do it electronically.
Okay.
So that means we have linked up the front motor and the back motor via the bus communication. Also that means the electronical communication. Mm-hmm. And those two motors, they are now talking to each other on a base of 1 milliseconds. And so that's why we can yeah, we can offer very smooth and a very yeah, well controllable quattro functionality in this car as well, without any mechanical linkage. Imagine if there would be installed big mirrors like in conventional cars. Those mirrors, they have a big aerodynamical track, and that's why our guys from the mirror department showed up with this solution here. So it's basically just a camera, and maybe we see it afterwards. There's inside the car there are some displays, and those displays, they are more or less now the mirrors of the future. And those tiny little camera arms now have the big advantage that they don't have, or they have very less drag, and that helps us at the end to maximize the range of the car as well. The electric motor installed on the rear axle is more powerful and compared to the front axle, and that means the efficiency value is higher.
Okay.
And for sure, we figured out. We did a lot of testing and simulation, and that's why we ended up in this 3/4, 1/4 balance.
So you can see here on the iPad, this is the rear axle on the right hand side and this is the front axle. And what we were talking about is that the rear axle is producing more regeneration. You can see the arrows are bigger in the back than they are in the front. And so that's why the bigger motor back here, you can see it's 30.8 kilowatts right now versus 5.8 kilowatts in the front. We're here at the bottom. We finished our route. We've done 29 kilometers, 18 miles, and I can tell you that we've gained quite a bit of range in that time. So we're up to now 259 kilometers of range, where we started at about 150 kilometers of range. And the battery charge level has gone from 62% up to 69%. That is the top of Pikes Peak, which is where I was about 3 hours ago, and now I'm down here, so obviously we made it down with no problem.
We went down 29 kilometers, which is 18 miles roundabout. We lost height around about 6,352 feet. And the energy in the battery at the beginning was around about 53 kilowatt hours, and at the end, for sure, surprisingly, we had more energy in our battery, around about 6.3 kilowatt hours at the gates down at Pikes Peak.
More information will be coming out on September 17th, which is when Audi plans to officially announce the Audi e-tron to the world. For the Fastlane Car, I'm Michael Curtis. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please be sure to come back to tflcar.com for more news, views, and real-world reviews, and of course, more videos on the Audi e-tron. Thanks.
I told you about this internal competition between those 4 Audi e-trons, and we were Team Yellow. And imagine.
Did we win?
We win!
Whoa! Winners!
There you go.